Identifying
The king of cakes.
Wubba lubba dub dub!
G'day guys, welcome back to CakesByChoppA. Today we have the Mr Meeseeks Box from Rick and Morty. To celebrate the Rick and Morty Day coming up this weekend, I have made this Mr Meeseeks Box featuring yours truly with some edible images. If you want to learn how to make those, stick around. But also, I made my very own little Mr Meeseeks, but we want some real big ones. Let's hit the button, shall we?
I'm Mr. Meeseeks! Look at me!
All right, enough games, let's get started. All right, so this would normally be the time where I tell you guys to head over to the CakesByChoppA Facebook page and print off the template. I have done that because if you do want to do a fondant version, you would just print the template, do a base layer of green, follow the same colors as the Mr Meeseeks box. Then I would do the inner, what I call X, and then the little circle part. You can do that trim as well and just stack them very thin layers on top. You've seen it many times in my other videos. I want to do something different today, so we're going to work with edible images. I've printed them out and I kept the backing of one so I knew the size to ratio. But this is the exact size of the image. So what I'm going to do is give ourselves about a finger space allowance for the ganache. Measurements are very important with this cake because you want to get a nice square. Look at that swirl, beautiful. I went ahead and leveled off these cakes just to make it a little bit easier. So we're going to place our little cake template just here. Follow that to a T, keeping your knife vertical, just sawing through. So then we have our first layer. Okay, we can push that one aside, move on to the second one. Now I am following that quite precise because we really want some nice sharp edges on this cake. There's no room for eyeballing it, it needs to be exact. Because I've baked these in two separate sheets, I'm going to make a second half here. And I'm going to push that up against here and finish that other square. I do have a little corner breakage here, but I can glue that back on. Not a problem. Now that was too easy. Now that we've got our 3 layers cut out, we've kept our separated one just off to the side. It's going to take a little bit of ganache, place that down on your board. That'll glue your cake down and just keep it centered, stop it from sliding around. Now I'm going to take the very bottom layer, make sure it's right in the middle, press that down, give it a shake test, we're all good, and give that a generous filling. Because when I stack these cakes, I measured it up against our template. We need about a finger space worth of ganache because when we cover it, we've got a little bit of leeway to build it up and make it the same size as the template. And I think to give it that little Rick and Morty twist, we're gonna add some sprinkles, or hundreds and thousands. Then we will take our middle 2 layers, but we'll glue them together first. This is a step I always forget, so don't forget this. Just butter that onto the middle, nice thin strip. And this will help your cakes bond, and place that on top. Let's go repeat that process. Just another layer of ganache, quite generous, sprinkles, cake on top. Once you've popped on your top layer of cake, you're gonna give that a full crumb coat. I would recommend giving it a first coat, popping it in the fridge, letting it set, then coming back and adding more and getting it nice and square. And then if you need to go over it again, add another thinner coat till you get to the exact size of your printed template. All right, so the crumb coat went on in the fridge. I've just applied a little bit more of the ganache around the edges. Now we're gonna try and clean it up and get it as cubic as I mentioned before. Now that our cake's nice and cubic and square and looks just like the box, I've got some edible glue here, which I'm gonna go around and just gently coat the top of this, just to give the edible images something to stick to. You don't wanna be too heavy-handed with this, just the slightest amount. Brush it over, making sure you got all the 4 corners, so when you stick the edible image on, it adheres to it. Take the edible image, flip it onto another cake board, line it up with the corner, peel this back, line it up with my cake, and then push straight on, nice and flush. There we go, there's 1. Number 2, number 3. Just with the fondant smoother, you're going to go around and just soften those edges in very carefully. You'll see one edge is tucked over slightly. Just round it off really gently, and that'll make that seam disappear. For the top, go around and do the same. You're gonna just fold those seams over nice and gentle. I'm gonna use a little bit of edible glue. Now, very carefully on the edge of the top pieces. I don't want it to drip down the side. Lastly, we have the top one, which you need to be extra careful with because the edible images are very fragile. So you gotta support it as much as you can. Using your fingers, line it up, place it on. Just using the brush with a very slight bit of edible glue on it. I'm going around and sealing the edges, and this will pull a little bit of the dye. You don't want to do it too much because it's just getting rid of that little white corner and it's gluing down the piece. Okay, so I've rolled out some blue modeling chocolate, created a disc that is going to be the button. So we slide that in. Just make sure the disc is smooth all the way around, and we can place that on top. Now that you're finished with the Mr Meeseeks box, I think it looks pretty cool. We're gonna move on to modeling the figures. If you don't wanna model these figures out of chocolate, what you can do is just purchase some of the toys and place them around the cake, and it's gonna look just as good. But I made a sitting Mr Meeseeks, and I also made a freestanding, which I'm pretty stoked about. He actually stands by himself, just with the use of some skewers. I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, old school voiceover. What you're gonna do is warm up your fondant with your hands by rolling it out and conditioning it. Then you're gonna shape a body and a head together in one piece. I've measured it up against the one I made earlier, just for a bit of size continuity. I've rolled out a long snake for the legs, cut out some feet and put them on the ends, and we'll join them up later properly. I'm just measuring out a skewer that I'm gonna place down the center. I measured that on the body to see if I had the right height and body proportion. Once I was happy with the length of that, I threaded them through the legs. You can lay this down and push it through so you don't puncture it out the side. If you do, it's not a problem. Modeling chocolate is fairly forgiving. Now I've sealed off the feet to the legs and made it look like one solid piece, placing the legs into the bottom. And then you're going to use some more modeling chocolate to seal off the join so it looks, again, like one piece. Modeling chocolate is such a great medium to use because it just melts in and it looks like it's always been that way. For the arms, you're going to roll out two snakes with a ball end. And for the arm, I posed them in a little arms crossed position. We did this on live and I had a lot of feedback from you guys, so thank you so much for your help there. Once I'd put the arms on in the position I wanted, I warmed up some fondant and placed on the shoulders. Again, hiding the seams just by rolling it in and melting it to the rest of the body. Once I was happy with the look of the arms and the shoulders, I fine-tuned his neck and then added some little lip pieces for the mouth. These are like the corners of the mouth. So I rolled one piece, cut it in half, and then applied that, measuring out where I need it. Popped on some black modeling chocolate for the eyes with little white dots, just like Mr Meeseeks' face has. Then I put the mouth on the table and cut out some individual little teeth, placed them into the middle and then squished them down. They're fairly easy to shape. You're just literally pushing them on and getting them to look just right. Pop that onto the face. A little bit of edible glue helps, or you can warm the back of the modeling chocolate and it'll stick to itself. Pop on some eyebrows, and then I decided I wanted to line off his mouth, and I was happy with that result. There you go, you have your standing Mr Meeseeks. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please check out Rick and Morty Season 5 coming up this weekend for Rick and Morty Day. Just check all the hashtags and links in the description. I had a lot of fun. Also, massive thank you to Anthony from Ace of Clay. He helped a lot with this sculpting process just through his videos. He's tagged at the end in my creator spotlight, which is on the end of every video. If you like that creator, follow him, show him some love. Follow me, show me some love, and I'll catch you next time, guys. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.